I'll tell you folks what's wrong with America today. Giant cookies. Don't be laughing. That's right. Let me tell you something. You get them over at the mall. You got one cookie, size of a hubcap. Cost $8. That ain't right. Remember until a few years ago, a cookie was like yay big. Get a whole bag of them for $1. I remember as a little kid getting ready for school. My mother would say, Junior, that was me. You want a cookie in your lunch? I say, yeah, that'd be good. Now mother says to her child, son, you want to take a cookie to school, will you? Well, yeah, if I can get somebody to help me carry it. I mean, oh. I like working here in Chattanooga, and I'll tell you why. I'm from Atlanta. That means I can drive up here. I'm telling you the truth. I only take jobs I can drive to. I'm one of those people I'm afraid to fly. And when you admit that you are afraid to fly, people make fun of you. They say you're not sophisticated. Well, maybe I ain't. But damn it, I'm alive. How you think about it? You're on an airplane, and it's taking off, and you look out the window back down to the ground, the last thing you see is the word terminal. And you know how when you're on the runway before the plane takes off, you catch yourself reading all those signs inside the plane. The seatbelt sign, the no smoking sign. And I know that you folks are just like me. You enjoy reading about the flotation seats. Really, aren't they nice? See, if the plane crashes in the ocean, the seats will float. Well, la-ti-da. There's no water between Atlanta and here. If you want to make me happy, show me a seat that's going to bounce off one of these mountains over here. That's what I want to say. And get this. There's a sign over the airplane door. Do not open during flight. You know what that means? Sometime in the past, some nut has said to his wife, honey, I'll be back in a minute. Oh. In case you all haven't noticed this so far, I'll point it out to you. I don't do any sexual or political humor, and I'll tell you why. I keep getting the two confused. Really, I was on this television show in New York some weeks ago, and they asked me, they said, what do you think about the Middle East position? And now, don't be getting ahead of me on that. I said, well, hell, I enjoyed it. But it hurt my wife's back. Well, and do you ever think about what dumb things people say? Now, I don't mean dumb things that dumb people say. They're supposed to. It's kind of like their job, you know. I'm talking about the dumb things that intelligent, cultured, sophisticated people, like me and you. Y'all sitting there saying, us maybe. You know this television show, Knight Rider, where they got the talking car? The next time you're watching that show and there's other people in the room, somebody in the room, usually a college graduate, somebody will say, I'll bet you that's somebody else doing that voice. You feel like saying, boy, that education's paid off for you. You know. But we don't, though. We say, oh, it probably is. Probably, like it's open for debate, you know. And remember when you was a little kid, how somebody that you loved a lot would say things out of ignorance that would embarrass you sometime? My mother would do that. Somebody remember back in high school when you had to diagram sentences? My mother was at a PTA meeting. She asked my teacher, she said, how's Junior doing? That was me. Teacher said, well, he's doing pretty good, but he's having trouble with his dangling participle. Huh? True story. My mother says, well, he can't help it. It's been that way since he was 3 years old. What happened was he got it caught in the spokes of his tricycle. Oh, it went right over the handlebars. He just laid out there and hollered and hollered. See, when you're a small child, the adult language doesn't make any sense. My mother would come out on the porch and she'd say, if you fall out of that tree and break your leg, I'm going to whoop your butt. I'm thinking, what a cool woman. Going to beat up on a cripple like that, you know? And see, everybody's got one person in their family or one close relative that is so stupid. It's the one you can't argue with. I tell you what, it's the same relative that keeps missing the 6 o'clock news because he don't know what time it comes on. I got an uncle like that. Let me tell you about my uncle. The bank called him up, told him that his account was overdrawn, so he mailed him a check. This is the first time I've had an entire audience sit there and go, well, yeah, I believe that's what I do. Go ahead and mail him a check. Yeah. Anyway, his dream in life is to own a 2-story mobile home. I told him, I said, Uncle Robert, there's no such thing. He says, well, hell, they ought to be. For people that's got money. Anyway, we were at his house one night watching television. The Muppets had this TV special on. Miss Piggy come on the TV screen, and my uncle said, I bet you that's not a real pig, I just bet it ain't. Now, I don't care how many degrees you got hanging on the wall, you can't argue with that idiot. Like, well, Uncle Robert, I believe you're right about that. Well, hell yeah, I'm right. Let me tell you something. I've been around pigs all my life. That ain't no real pig. Now, I will tell you this. From the neck up, the whole head, that looks familiar, looks authentic. But a real pig wouldn't wear a dress like that. He's the kind of guy that brags on his dog all the time. You ever heard somebody say this when they're bragging on the dog? They'll say, he don't know he's a dog. He don't. He thinks he's one of us. I tell him, I say, you paid $100 for that puppy. Get your money back. He's got brain damage. If he don't know he's a dog, he's going to spend his whole life running around wondering to himself, why am I barking? Oh, man. Oh, it's so good to be here. Those of you that's never been to Oklahoma, don't go. Let me tell you a true story that happened out there. For a long time, I just told this story to other comedians. And they'd say, you ought to tell that on stage. It's pretty funny. I was in Oklahoma in August. It was real hot, like 105, 106. We were staying at the Holiday Inn. The only place to eat was right across the expressway. We didn't have our car. Instead of walking a half mile to the next exit route, me and this other comedian would just run across the freeway. We in this restaurant, sat down, the waitress come over. She said, y'all going to get killed on that freeway. I said, we'll be careful. She said, you must be staying at the Holiday Inn. I said, yes, ma'am, that's why we were running from that general direction. Yeah. She said, you must be salesmen. And this other guy spoke up and said, no, we're comedians. She said, well, you picked a hot time to come to Oklahoma. It's hot. And I was trying to make conversation. I said, yes, ma'am, but I'd much rather it be like this than like the last time I was here. I was here one time in February, and it rained night and day, and it never quit, which is true. I said, it rained for a week. We got here on Tuesday. We left Sunday. It rained the whole time. And this waitress said, that wouldn't be a week. See, if you come on Tuesday, she explained it to me. Scared me. Yeah.